In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do the Russian join. So that way you can join two balls of yarn together with a seamless join without any knots. And it's just nice and clean for working with projects. I have quite a few patterns where I do recommend this. I just wanted to do a tutorial so I can show you how I do it. Before we get started, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's get started. For this tutorial, I'm using the King Cole Stormy Big Value Chunky yarn. And this is in the color Thunder. This is the color Cyclone. Now, typically when you do the Russian join, you want to be using the same color yarn. For instance, I have a blanket that I'm releasing soon where I used about 18 balls of this in this color, and I used the Russian join to join the balls together. And the beauty of it is that I didn't have any ends to weave in afterwards. But I'm going to demonstrate with two different colors so that you can see it a lot easier. Now, all you're going to need is, if you're joining the two balls of yarn, you'll need your two balls, as well as some scissors and a tapestry needle. Now, they do say for the Russian join, it's better with animal fibers or natural fibers. However, with this Big Value Stormy Chunky yarn, I found that it worked beautifully. Now, you do end up with a little bit of bulk when the yarn comes together when you're working with it, but it's wonderful, and I highly, highly recommend the Russian join. To begin with the join, I'm using the tapestry needle that is the sharpest one that I have in my toolbox. You do want a sharp point for this, and you want it to be a fairly thin tapestry needle, one that's the thinnest that will actually take your yarn. So I'm going to begin by just threading this through. I'm going to give it a little bit of a tail, just like so. Then I'm going to take my needle and I'm just going to start weaving into the yarn itself. So just like so. And I'm going to do this for a couple of inches. And I don't want to go completely just all the way through with a really clean one. I do kind of weave it in and out of some of the plies. That way it just helps it to really bind together. Okay, so I have this. Now I'm going to give it a little bit of a tug so that this needle goes all the way through. And I find the best way to do that is with this little loop right here. I just put my finger through there and I give it a little pull, and that helps to feed it. And then just pull that needle through. I just put lotion on, so I'm a little bit slick right now. Okay, so we pulled the needle through, and now this kind of looks a little bit like a mess, but that is a-okay. So I'm going to pull this tail through. So this yarn tail right here, I'm going to pull right through, not closing up this little loop. I'm keeping my thumb in there so it doesn't close. Okay, I'm going to take my needle off of there, and that's what we have so far. Now, that is okay because we're going to clean this up. So I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to grab my other yarn. Okay, now I have the Cyclone yarn. So I'm going to thread the needle with it as well. But before I do anything with it, I'm going to use this loop that's still left on that original ball. I'm going to put the needle through there, just like so, and pull it through, because they're going to join right here where this loop is. So what we're going to do is do the same thing we just did there, we're going to do with the Cyclone yarn. So I'm going to weave my needle through just for a few inches. And this does create just a little bit of bulk when you go to work the stitches over it. But once you're done with your piece, honestly, I have a hard time even noticing it. And I love that we end up taking care of the yarn tails as we're doing the project. So it's not anything we have to come back to later. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing where I have my thumb around this. I'm going to give it a little bit of a tug just to start feeding it through. And maybe you shouldn't use lotion right before you do this. Okay, there we go. And now we'll get that yarn tail right here. We're going to pull that through. And then we can take the needle off. Now, this is what you have. Now, it's not super pretty, but we're going to change that. So grab one of your yarn tails and just pull it together so that it bunches up there towards the end, just like so. And then do the same on the other end. And you'll start seeing this join coming together. Okay, so now you have these two where they're looped in together, and then you can pull it to straighten it out. So that tidies this up a bit. So just like so. And now that yarn isn't going anywhere, and it's just a wonderful way to work your tails in as you're doing it. And then I'll come to the tail end right here, and I'll actually pull this in just a tiny bit, give it a little nip, so that way that tail is all taken care of, and then I give it another tug so it feeds that little bit of that tail right back in. And then I'm going to do the same on this end. And see, now it's all worked in, and now you're ready to continue with your project. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and I will see you a little bit later. Thank you. Bye-bye.